Many of you ladies keep telling me the same thing over and over again. How you can't seem to find a man who will reciprocate the same attributes and qualities that you display and share with them. You're kind, you're loving, you're hardworking, you're generous with your time and your resources. You know, you have a great soul, and yet you can't seem to find guys who are willing to do and be the same things that you are. But I'm here to tell you that a big part of the problem in that is because y'all keep picking the same type of guys. You can't keep repeatedly choosing the same type of man, whether you're predisposed to that or not, and expect a different guy. If you keep choosing the same man, you'll get the same guy. If you leave the salt out of the soup, you're still going to have a bland soup. Time and time again, the pot of soup is going to be bland. You're going to have to add the spice. In other words, stop doing the same things you did before. Now, the question is, what do you do differently so that you don't keep running into these problems? Well, there are several things that you can do. And this is what I've noticed from years of counseling women and their relationship issues and all that stuff. And several things, like I said, you can do. One of them is get out of your own way. Primarily, get out of your own way. Stop being the barrier to your own access to the type of man who will really be the type of man that you say that you're looking for. Stop being that barrier. In other words, if you approach a man or if you're engaging with a man and you start showing signs that you're anti-man, well, guess what? You're going to get a man who's either A, not going to stick around for very long, or B, he's going to pretend to be interested so he gets, you know, what he wants out of the situation and then takes off. Or C, you're going to get a guy who's not completely being himself, and none of those options are any good. None of them options are good at all. You want a man who's a stand-up guy, who's willing to be himself and stand behind and for what he believes in, and who is going to love you without anything getting in his way, and that includes you. Another thing I've noticed on a lot of these dating websites and social media and all these other things, you guys, how many of you advertise yourselves, the way that you advertise yourselves? You keep advertising yourselves, showing everything that God gave you, showing a whole lot of cleavage and showing off all of your curves and all that. Well, guess what you're going to attract? You're going to attract the type of guy who's looking for what you're putting out there. Okay? That's what you're going to get. You're not going to find a guy necessarily who's interested in what's in between your ears as opposed to the other areas of your body. You're not going to find guys who are more likely or will have the tendency to engage and interface with you in such a way that is meaningful and that has purpose and gives you real prospects for a long-term future together. What you're going to get instead are guys who want to play, because what you're showing them is that you like to play. And you know what I mean by that when I say play. That may not be your intent. That actually may, in some sense, and a lot of women do this, you know y'all do it, you know, putting yourself out there is the bait, but you're not going to get the type of fish you're looking for necessarily. You're going to get the minnows instead of getting somebody who is really about their game and about you. Another thing that a lot of y'all do is stop telling a man how much you don't need a man. Okay, we get it. As guys, we understand. This is kind of like kind of like a way that you're letting us know that, hey, you know what? I want you, but I damn sure don't need you. And you know, I understand that, and most men do. Most men, real men, strong men, vibrant men, love an independent woman whose hand they don't have to constantly hold throughout life. And I don't mean hold physically. Somebody they don't have to constantly, they don't want to be attached to a woman who's needy constantly. Just like you don't want to be attached to a man who's needy. Let's be real about it. Those attributes and qualities, well, those qualities of a man or in a woman are not attributes. They're actually weights that hold you down. You don't want that, right? So stop telling a man, hey, you know, I don't need no man. I don't need no man. Because eventually what you're going to get is A guy who realizes that he doesn't have a future with you after all, and he's going to go. If he's a decent guy, he's not going to stick around. He's not going to stick around. Another thing is when a man asks you out, don't play games. If in your heart you really want to go out with him, what's the harm in saying yes? And by the same token, what's the harm in setting the parameters for the way that you guys conduct yourselves within each other's company? In other words, if you want to tell that man, hey, listen, I want to go out with you and have a good time, but there's not going to be any sex involved until we figure out where this thing is going. That's just an example I'm using. Then you know what? That's okay. You can be upfront about that. That's not a problem. Communicate directly exactly what you want. Go with what you want. All right? Even if you're scared to engage a really great guy, and you know he's a great guy, but maybe that's not what you're used to, you know what? Take that leap and take a chance anyway with that guy. And give him a real serious chance, not a meet me halfway chance. You just go far enough with him to realize that, you really are scared. Get beyond your fears with this guy. Maybe you're going to find out that this really is the man of your dreams. Now, speaking of that, when you choose a man, forget what you imagined him to be. Forget that. Maybe he's not going to be 6'4", 250 pounds of lean muscle and, have the ideal job and have this or that, whatever. Maybe he's not going to look like The Rock or whatever you imagine your man should look like. But maybe he still looks like the type of guy who's willing to jump there in the trenches with you and fight it out in life, and not with you, but not against you, but with you, and build something together. Maybe that guy. As long as that guy also is fun, and it doesn't hurt if he's good looking, but those aren't the primary prerequisites. The primary thing is to make sure he's the type of guy who's going to be about what he says. Not about what he looks like or about what kind of job he has necessarily, as long as he's hardworking, very hardworking, as long as he is progressive. In other words, if he's working at McDonald's, for example, flipping hamburgers, but next week he wants to own a McDonald's, or not next week, but, a couple of years he wants to own a McDonald's. In other words, a guy who's always upwardly mobile minded. That's the type of guy you want, because that's the type of man you can build a life with. So anyway, these are just a few examples that I'm offering you to help you to stay out of your own way when it comes to men. Stop picking the same type of guys you've always gone for. You're very likely going to get something very different, and explore an area of your interest that you didn't even know existed. Give it a chance. What do you have to lose, right? What do you got to lose? Give it a chance. Well, anyway, my name is Dave Thomas III. I'm the author of my little book of truisms, and this has been your moment of truth for today.